in the studio, Ebon, and also station manager Rick. Good morning again, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've got to give a little bit of background. So
we want a story.
It all began a long time ago in a galaxy far away.
Hey,
called Chester Hill.
Oh, now Chester Hill, that's out west.
That's Sydney southwest, the home of the drive-by shooting. Yes, Western Sydney's dreaded southwest. Grew up there, born there. Anyway, that's a whole other story.
That explains everything.
Yeah, it does explain a lot, actually. About 1994, God basically called us through, again, another whole story full of amazing indications, to move to the Central Coast. Which, at the time, we had 3 young kids at that point. Thought, okay, cool, let's go to the Central Coast. Time for a sea change sort of thing. When we got up here...
How old were you at this stage, roughly?
I was 34.
Okay, yeah.
Or 33. I was in that year. So we moved up the coast. My background's IT. I was a programmer and database analyst with Reserve Bank.
A.K.A. a hacker.
So I did the commute, the Sydney run for about 18 months.
Train.
Used to drive to Gordon and get a train from Gordon because trains from the Central Coast were just ridiculous. Yeah. So we'd drive part way and anyway, did that for about 18 months and chucked it in, said this is nuts. Went contracting, so did contract programming up here on the coast for about probably 18 months. In that time then basically set up my own business doing IT consultancy, freelance software development, that sort of thing. So have been basically doing IT since I moved out of school. So 79 I started my uni course and got a degree, got a traineeship with Reserve Bank, so I've been doing IT since then. That plays a part in the story. So I got up here on the coast and we thought, this is amazing, we can pick up Christian radio here. We're picking up Rhema Newcastle. I thought, we're in Sydney and we couldn't get Christian radio down there. Well, I mean, Hope weren't really well established at that point. You had 2CBA FM, which was like the pre-runner, and the music was dreadful. I mean, music to sleep by. Came up here and we're getting contemporary Christian music on this station coming out of Newcastle. That's awesome. And we started going up to some of their Rhemathons. We'd grab the kids in the car and we'd go up there on the Sunday night, and because they used to rock until midnight on the Sunday night and often hit their target at 5 minutes to 12, and it was all fun and exciting and all this sort of stuff. So did that for a few years. And one year I made the big mistake. I actually went to their AGM. And this would probably be...
You didn't stick your hand up.
No, I didn't. I wasn't that stupid. But this was probably... I'm trying to think. It was either 2001 or 2002. Probably 2001, I think. And I'm driving home. I remember it. I just really graphically coming down near John Hunter Hospital, down that road there that comes out, and thinking, God, if there's ever a Christian station on the coast, I'd love to be part of it. Now, you really shouldn't say those things to God. You really shouldn't. Because I forgot all about it. And it was sometime later, I got this phone call and, hello Rick, this is John Marks. I'm going, John? Oh, I know that name. John Marks, head honcho of Rhema Newcastle, he said they had been doing some temporary broadcasts into the Central Coast region, trying to establish a licence for a Christian station on the coast. And I tuned into a couple of those, but all it was a relay of Newcastle. So they were basically sending it to a tower here and bouncing it out. They had gone and applied to ACMA for a licence and gone down a certain path and been going that track for a couple of years. And then ACMA had said, you can't just relay from Newcastle. And they said, what? What do you mean? We've been doing this, all our temporary broadcasts have been just relay. Oh yeah, but you can't actually do that to get a licence. You've actually got to establish a company, separate board, separate finances, separate station, locally sourced broadcast on the Central Coast if you've got any chance of getting a licence. So that resulted in a phone call to me and actually 4 other gentlemen around the coast, 4 other business people, and 2 of whom I knew well. You guys interested in forming Gosford Christian Broadcasters Limited as a company with a view to getting a full-time Christian licence? And I'm there going, God, you heard what I said, didn't you? So I had to think about it for probably 1.5 nanoseconds and said, yep, I'm in. So that's where it all began. And so that was in 2002, the company was formed, in and out of licences. We actually got granted a licence once. It got taken off us by another station who challenged the decision, and natural justice hadn't been observed because ACMA hadn't observed all their proper protocols. So we lost the licence again. We had to go again through temporary broadcasts. through eventually till October 2004, we were actually granted the license, full-time license again. So we'd gone through again, applied against these 2 other applicants, got the license. I was one of the board. I was the one that actually had the technical nous to know how to put CDs into a CD player on the computer.
Very difficult job.
And copy the programs into the correct folders.
Yep.
So
those skills are important. I mean,
a lot of finger injuries, man. It's amazing.
At that point, programming for Rhema Central Coast consisted of getting a Fastways bag from Newcastle every Friday, running into the studio. It was a server room with 2 computers in it in the back of someone else's office, putting CDs in, copying them into other places, and basically that was what I did. That was my part on the role. And so that was 04. Part of the condition of getting the license was that it had to have local management within 12 months. So, because at that point, John Marks was acting general manager, Gary Forbes was acting station manager. August 2004, the board met, and basically it was who's going to do the gig. Everyone else stepped back. I was sort of, hang on, what happened there? So I got the job as station manager of what was then Rhema Gosford, and that's where the story began. And then from then, we've then grown into, we moved into our own office, which is in the same building as where that server room was. We were there for several years. We came here to Erina heading on for 7 years ago. We relocated to here. My title got changed to general manager somewhere along that, so they could get me to do more things. And so in that whole process of those, I guess now, 13-ish, 14 years, I've sort of wound down my IT job to where I've still got a couple of clients I look after, and I've written some of the software that we use around this place. But primarily, I've hitched my wagon to Rhema Central Coast. This is my main gig, and I do the other stuff to supplement the income and keep our heads above water. And sort of keep my hand in a little bit with IT, but I'm a bit of an IT dinosaur these days. The stuff I do is so outdated. But yeah, I've got IT systems running in local business here that have been there for 22 years, which is a little scary in itself.
No,
I keep telling them, you need to change, you need to upgrade.
About that. Low tech
so that's sort of how I got here. So basically, I had some IT skills. I had no background in media, no background in radio. I'm an introvert. I really hate being front and centre. I hate public speaking. I hate talking on microphones. God's got a sense of humour.
He does.
Because he has me out public speaking and getting behind microphones. And, I mean, I enjoy it. I love it, but I hate it at the same time. I'm more than happy to just sit in my corner and play with my computer all day, every day. But God doesn't let me stay there. He sort of says, I want you out doing this. And somehow, and we're not saying this the right way, but sometimes I actually seem to actually be good at some of this stuff, which really stuns me and surprises me. I have no idea why or how. So there's my story in a nutshell.
Well,
thank you, Rick. It's a
parallel story with that. Parallel story. I've always loved music. I grew up. I did my HSC to Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd in headphones. I mean, that gives you a bit of my background. And David Bowie. I mean, I used to just crank it up in my headphones while I was studying maths, physics, chemistry, all that stuff, and somehow that worked as well. So, but I've always known the power of music to penetrate past the brain into the spirit and the soul.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
See, you basically had several points along that way. Well, you could have avoided all this.
I know. I asked myself that question many times. But see, the thing is, and again, another major mistake in life. I went to YWAM for 6 months.
Oh, goodness, that says a lot about you, Rick. There it is.
And it changed my world.
Yes. In
that I suddenly realised doing things for God was not so much about faith as about obedience. Because it took faith if you had no idea what God was telling you to do. But actually when he told you what to do, it wasn't faith anymore. It was a choice. God's saying do this. It's not faith to do it. It's just, well, yes or no.
It's a good idea to jump and jump quickly.
Oh, and I've worked that out, because if you don't jump straight away, you get pushed. So it became a matter of, and these decisions I've made, and thanks to my wonderful wife, she's been a support through that whole process and helping me make a lot of those decisions, and they've always been made as joint decisions. We've worked out that the obedience is what brings the joy. and the faith comes later sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes scary.
Well, that's the way YWAMers work. You don't have to be told anything. You just go and do it.
Well, you know why? Because it actually works.
Let's just go do that.
Yeah, and you go, okay, I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know how this is going to pan out.
Figure it out.
But God, and part of that is becoming confident in hearing God, and and that just takes practice, and you make a lot of mistakes along the way, and you get it wrong.
You often have to go through stuff.
Yeah, and it's not easy, and it's often painful, but the joy at the end. And I love what I do here. I love working with people like Evan and the stuff we do here. It's a day-to-day battle on many levels, not just the financial, which we're talking about, but a whole deal of things that we have to deal with on a daily basis. But I wouldn't be any other place, because I know it's where God wants me right now. And as hard as that is some days, I don't want to be out of God's place. I don't want to be out of His will. That's a horrible place.
Sometimes it's easier to step out of that place you go. And a lot of people do that. They go, the job's getting me down this week, etc. I'm going to chuck it and go work for somebody else. But if God wants you there, you don't want to make a move. And if you go to some place and God doesn't want you there, nothing. I was in a job which I should have been really, really good at. No, nothing never worked. And I used to pray about it every day before I went off there. I was happy when I left.
When you got that release. I'm here till God says go. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
As I said, I've hitched my wagon to this thing, and wherever it's going, I'm on it. I just hanging on to God's tails and saying, you do what you're doing, and I'll just come along for the ride.
Yeah, Rick, I think you've done a tremendous job, so you're definitely in the right place here.